happens to all of us, don't you worry. Now, Christina Vogel has had a wonderful Track World Cup so far. She could well win a keirin to add to her individual sprint.
Velodrome, now renamed as the Lee Valley Velo Park. The site of so many gold medals just 2 years ago. And having had lots of work done around the Olympic Park, now it is a scene for some fantastic action, and the legacy of the Olympic Games is now developing as a full house make their way into the track to enjoy the action. Well, it's going to be a fantastic few hours with me here as we bring you both live coverage of today's racing and also bring you highlights of the last few days. Well, that's our commissaires panel who will be looking after the various bits of the action during the racing. They'll make sure that all the rules and rules of racing are adhered to, and they'll make sure that all the results stand. So the track is looking absolutely fantastic, very, very busy in the centre of the track so far. There are many fans who have come in here to watch the racing, but in the centre of the track it is very, very busy indeed. Over 400 riders taking part in 3 days of competition.
So Chris, you're back here at the Olympic Velodrome 2 years on. How are you feeling?
Well, it's great to be back again. I mean, it's a fantastic venue, so many great memories, and yeah, just enjoying me back in the track centre again.
And what do you hope your presence will have? What impact will that have on the team, do you think?
I've no idea. You'd have to ask them. I think it's a familiar face. I'm a kind of neutral person, if you like. I'm not a full-time member of staff, so you know, back at the hotel or in the cafe, I can sit and chat to the riders, and if they've got worries or concerns, they can sort of talk to me about it. Hopefully, they value my opinion. But I think it's just nice for me. It was always nice to see old members of the team come back to races, because you know, if anything, you can just talk about the old times, and it kind of helps you switch off from the pressures of competition.
That's great. Thank you very much, Chris. Enjoy your evening.
Well, wonderful to hear from Sir Chris Hoy there in the centre of the track. There is Laura Trott, one of the other stars of the Olympic Games. Jess Varnish getting ready for action there in the pen of Great Britain. Here's a little bit of technical data for you. The track length, 250 metres. That's pretty much the standard now. The width is 7 metres, and at the maximum, the bends are at 41 degrees, and the side banking's at around about 13 degrees. Well, first of all, before we get into the live action, we're going to bring you highlights now of the men's Madison. The riders then out on the track for the men's Madison, 120 laps of racing, 6 sprints along the way, 30 kilometres of racing in total. Now, just to explain the Madison to you, if you've not seen it before, the teams here are riding in pairs. One member of the team, as you can see, they're riding around the bottom of the track, and their teammates are waiting for them at the top of the track to be slung into the action, just to swap over and to put a fresh pair of legs into the race. Now, it's all about laps. If you take a lap, you're obviously 1 lap ahead. If all the riders finish on the same number of laps, then the sprints will then decide the overall result. As we can see here, after 3 of the 6 sprints, it is Germany who are in the driving seat there with 5 points taken there. And the furious action is going on. This average speed so far of this race is very, very high. We have got a tremendous pace at somewhere over 55 kilometres an hour. Now, the French team have taken a lap, and they are now ahead of the race. As we can see here, they are 1 lap ahead, the team in red. As we see in second place, France 1, Australia and Great Britain. But right now, it is Great Britain with Mark Christian who go on the attack to try and break the will of the rest of this peloton, looking to try and put the French team under a little bit of difficulty now. So Mark Christian, he is paired here with Owen Dool. Christian has been a rally team professional over the last couple of years. Owen Doull, one of the stalwarts now of the Great Britain Academy and moving into the Great Britain team. And there are many rumours about where Owen Doull will be racing in the 2015 season. He was linked with Eurocar for just a little while, but he's now announced that he's not going to do that. 53 laps of racing, and Great Britain really putting the pressure on. France now have lost their lap, so they are now equal on terms with the rest of the field. Great Britain now take a lap on the rest of the peloton. So they are now in the lead, and the face of Mark Christian telling the story there. A lot of pain in those legs, having gone on the attack and made sure that he gained the 250 metres on the rest of the field. So the leaders now are Owen Doull, just being slung into the action there, wearing number 7, and Mark Christian. 5 laps to go now, and New Zealand are on the attack with Australia, looking to try and put themselves into the same number of laps as Great Britain, and that would also mean that because of the point situation, New Zealand and Australia would leapfrog Great Britain, and they would then be the winners of this Madison contest. But the commissaires, the judges in the centre of the track, they will designate what is the peloton, the biggest group of riders on the track, and it looks to me like New Zealand could be running out of time here to win this contest, because they have to catch the group that Great Britain are leading right now. Australia and New Zealand are just mopping up riders all over the place. They're about to catch another small group just in front of them, but Great Britain here with Germany and Switzerland are really putting the pressure on. With 1 lap to go, New Zealand and Australia are going to run out of time here, which is incredible because they are almost on the same lap as Great Britain, who are really turning the heat up now. They are going to go to the line, and it looks to me here as they hit the line with an average speed of 56.853 kilometres an hour. Owen Doull and Mark Christian win the Madison. The crowd absolutely delighted. A thrilling performance. The average speed nearly 57 kilometres an hour. Well, the crowd all on their feet. They really enjoyed that. There is the result. 1 lap down with New Zealand with 10 points. Germany with 9, France 1 with 8. And here we are on the podium with the top 3. Owen Doull, Mark Christian, the winners of the Madison here in London. Here we are then with the sights and sounds of the velodrome. This is Laura Trott, concentrating hard. She's looking to win the Omnium now, if she possibly can. She has been racing very strongly over the last couple of days. And we're going to move on now to the men's sprints, and this will be the semi-finals. The bell is tolling in the background. That's Big Ben. We're not that close to it, but we're not that far away. So the men's sprint has been going on over the last couple of days. The riders qualifying with the 200-metre lap qualification. And now we're getting down to the really important part of this race as we look here at the 2 heats that we're going to see. Matthew Archibald will be racing against Fabian Puerta, a rider who is really emerging as a great talent now from Colombia. Jeffrey Hoogland is going to be racing against Hersoni Canelon. These riders will be racing over 3 races, so it is the best of 3 heats. And of course, these riders will be looking to make sure that they dismiss their opponent in 2 races, as opposed to having to go all the way to the decider. The winners will race for the gold medal. The losers will go through to race for the bronze later on today. Well, thank you for joining me for our coverage today of the UCI World Cup track cycling. This is the second round. We had the previous round in Guadalajara in Mexico. We then have the third round in Cali in Colombia before we move to the World Championships. If you're planning to go to them, they are in France in the magnificent new velodrome, not too far from Paris. You can get all the details of World Cups and, of course, World Championships on uci.ch. That is the governing body of cycling on their website. And you can also follow at UCI_cycling for lots of information about World Cup track and World Championships as well. So these two riders up on the track then. In the black is Matthew Archibald of the HPS team. Some of these riders riding, of course, in World Cups in their trade teams. And Fabian Puerta is the other rider who is in here for the Colombian team. He has been riding very well. He took a bronze medal in the World Championships. He took a bronze medal in Guadalajara in the World Cup just a few weeks ago. And he is a rider that we have seen getting stronger and stronger. And his silver medal, I meant to say, was his performance in the keirin competition in the World Championships in Cali. So let's see who's going to take this one. Archibald in the black, red and kind of silver-coloured kit there. Fabian Puerta staying up the banking. Archibald rode very well in qualification. And now we're going to see the pressure being put on. Fabian Puerta likes to ride from the front. So he overtakes Archibald now as he goes down the back straight into the final couple of turns on the track. And Puerta has made that look very, very easy. He goes 1-0 up in the contest. Look at the average speed, 69.124 kilometers an hour. The Colombian, to me, looks like he is on absolutely top form right now in the sprints. Well, he was beaten by Matthew Glaetzer and by Jason Kenny in Guadalajara in the previous sprint. So we could be seeing here a rider who could be going through to the final, and he is looking like a possible favourite. Interestingly, some of the bigger names that we would normally expect to see in the sprint final have not made it through. Well, Matthew Archibald swung up the track. He decided not to take part in the run into the line. He knew he was beaten by the Colombian specialist. As we welcome our next two riders onto the track. The rider riding for the Netherlands is Jeffrey Hoogland. There he is, all in orange. And the Venezuelan rider here, Percy Canelon. Well, as usual, you can join me on Twitter if you would like to, at @McCrossan, if you would like to pose any questions or give us any thoughts on the racing so far. We'll be bringing you highlights of many, many of the events that we've seen on this London velodrome in the last couple of days, and we'll be making sure that you get all the live action that's going on here on the track during this evening's session. A magnificent shot there, isn't it, of these two sprinters as they make their way onto the track. Of course, 3 laps of the track for the sprinters to contend with. Canelon sporting that aero helmet. And he is the rider who has been nominated to ride off at the front. And he'll just keep his eye now on Jeffrey Hoogland. He'll have worked his tactics out. Now the sprint starts to increase. The sprinter's line, of course, around the bottom of the track is the red line. And Percy Canelon keeps his eye on Jeffrey Hoogland, who has used that banking to very, very good effect as he opens up the gas a little bit now. He's going to go past Canelon. He's trying to hold him off, but it's a very simple victory there for Jeffrey Hoogland of the Netherlands. His average speed just touching 69.3 kilometers an hour there. So they will ride off in the second part of this men's sprint semi-final in a little while. Here's the replay then. Hoogland went round the outside, but once he put the power on, Canlon had absolutely no answer to the power of the rider from the Netherlands. Well, as we look across the velodrome there, that so many of these riders in the track centre have got great memories of. We're going to turn our attention back to some other highlights. And we are going to bring you the highlights now of the women's team pursuit finals. And this is the bronze medal contest between Canada and China. Canada comprising of Alison Beveridge, Jasmine Glazer, Kirsty Lay and Stephanie Roda. Kirsty Lay is the new member of the team for Canada. The other three riders have been silver medalists in the World Championships previously. The Chinese team made up of Wang Dongyan, Zhang Wenwen, Jing Yali and Chao Baofang. And this is for the bronze medal. This Canadian team took the silver medal in the World Cup in Guadalajara, and we are really starting to see the improvement of the Chinese team as well. So it's very, very interesting to see how Chinese cycling is developing all the time. But this Canadian squad are looking pretty useful in qualifying. They actually had a big problem where one of the riders crashed and they still managed to maintain their position. But as you can see here, they are starting to catch the Chinese team in front of them. The Canadian squad are extremely well drilled as they head towards the bell now. And we will see what sort of time they can produce, but certainly the bronze medal in the women's team pursuit is going to go to the Canadian squad as they head now towards the wheel of the Chinese team. They're going to stop the clock at 4:23.681. There'll be a slight adjustment to that time for the third rider. But there is no doubt as to what the winning squad is going to be there. Canada with another fantastic performance in the women's team pursuit, win in a confirmed time of 4:24.188. This is the ride-off then for the gold medal. The London Roar continues as the crowd get on their feet to meet the two squads that are always going head-to-head with each other. The teams of Great Britain and Australia. And Australia comprising Ashley Akudinoff, Amy Cure, the world champion of the points race, Melissa Hoskins and Rebecca Weizak. The Great Britain team with Katie Archibald, the Commonwealth Games champion Eleanor Barker, also in the team, Joanna Rousel, and in the squad they bring in as well a new member of the team in Kiara Horn. So here we go. Let's see how they're doing. In fact, Joanna Rousel has been swapped here in this squad for Laura Trott. As the Australian team desperately try now to peg the distance between them and the Australian squad. And the Australian team swapped out Rebecca Weizak and put in Isabella King here. And Great Britain looking a little bit ragged as one of the riders swung up there. At 3,250 metres, Great Britain are ahead in 3:33, but this is not the most tidy performance we have seen from them. The gaps between the wheels, the pressure is just a little bit high by the front rider as they head towards the 500-metre to-go point. Australia 1.933 down. These two squads have been swapping their riders back and forward all the time in all the different heats. As we look at them now, and it is going to be pretty close, isn't it? But Great Britain have the edge at 1.753 seconds. The Australian team desperately trying to come back at them. Katie Archibald, Laura Trott, Erin Labarca and Cara Horn are the riders who are going to hit the line. They take the gold medal. The average speed 54.926 kilometres an hour. And the silver medal goes to Australia with Isabella King, Ashley Akudinoff, Amy Cure, Melissa Hoskins, and they also had Rebecca Wiesack riding in previous rounds of the competition. Also riding for Great Britain in previous rounds was Joanna Rousel. Great Britain, the World Cup leaders, the world champions, the Olympic champions. But this time managed to pull it together once they had the three riders got themselves composed and back together as a unit. Eleanor Barker looking across there, mouth wide open. That was a big effort. Here's our podium then. Great Britain with the gold medal, Australia with the silver, and Canada with the bronze. We're going to turn our attention then to the finals of the men's team sprint. These are the highlights. And it is New Zealand, the world champions here, riding against France. New Zealand of Ed Dawkins, Ethan Mitchell and Sam Webster. France riding with Michael Dalmedia, Francois Purvis and Kevin Siro. New Zealand, of course, the world champions, having won that in Cali in Colombia. They come up to the bell. This is going to be very close between these two teams. Riding for this medal here, the bronze medal ride-off, and who is going to take it? The New Zealanders are going very close. It looks like New Zealand, well, the world champions in this bronze medal ride-off, have taken the bronze medal ahead of France. New Zealand's time, 43.713. France just behind in 43.863 are the confirmed times. And now we look at the ride for the gold medal. This is between Germany and Team Jayco AIS. Now that is the Australian squad, with Matthew Glaetzer, Shane Perkins and Nathan Hart. Germany with Joachim Eilers, Robert Forsterman and Rennie Enders. And it looks like it's neck and neck here, but Germany are slightly ahead of Team Jayco AIS as they try to turn the pressure up just a little bit more to bring home this victory if they possibly can. It is still Germany who are slightly ahead. Are they going to bring home this gold medal? A fantastic performance from the German squad as they head towards the completion of this race. Hitting the line then in 43.665, and the gold medal goes to Germany with a stunning performance. The German coach is very happy with that performance. They were under pressure for a little bit, but holding on to take the gold medal. Team Jayco AIS take the silver. All celebrations then for the German team in the men's team sprint. Robert Forsterman, the thighs did well there. See the power of this German squad. Once they make that change, Forstermann with those 28-inch thighs, giving it full blast as they went through that change. And then it was just down to their final rider to finish it all off. High fives then for the crowd, who are really getting into their track cycling here in this velodrome. Confirmation then that Germany took the gold medal, Team Jayco AIS taking the silver, and New Zealand there, the world champions, taking the bronze. They'll be looking...
really perfect season. I did 6 races in European and World Cup Gua de la Jara and here, and 4 gold medals, 2 silver. Better it couldn't be. It's fantastic that the World Championship is here, really close to us, and I like London. The spectators are fantastic. In Germany it isn't like this, and so I'm really happy to come the next season here to the World Championship. And
Joachim Eilers then giving us his insight as to what he thought of the London crowd. We're here now with our summary of what's been happening in the women's Omnium. This is the opening round of the competition, the final laps of the scratch race, and as you can see, the World Cup leader up towards the front, Laura Trott, also in there, the Olympic champion, and Kirsten Wild, one of the fastest sprinters in the world, on the front, making her way towards the final lap. 1 lap of the competition to go here in the opening round of the women's Omnium. And it is Kirsten Wild trying to go for this one. This is going to be very close. Jolien Dora also up there in the white as the World Cup leader, wearing number 4. And right on the line, Laura Trott takes it, just beating Kirsten Wild into second place. Well, what a sprint it was between those 2 riders. Trott just waited and waited and waited, and finally she found the gap she'd been looking for. So the women's Omnium individual pursuit then, with Laura Trott leading with 40 points. And the competition then between the first 2 overall, Laura Trott and Kirsten Wild. Both good pursuiters. Wild really trying to get a little bit more tempo out of the bike if she possibly can. Laura Trott looking very, very composed, very fast on the track, and Laura Trott just beats Kirsten Wild, an average speed of over 49 kilometers an hour for the Olympic champion. 2 rounds down, Laura Trott wins 2 rounds in succession. Kirsten Wild finishing yet again in second place. Confirmation then after 2 events, Laura Trott with a perfect score, 80 points, and Kirsten Wild with 76. The 3rd round then, the women's elimination. All the riders up on the track. A very compact peloton, 23 riders in this field. And of course all the action happens at the back as the riders get eliminated one by one. So the bell tolls. Oh, a big crash there. Oh, and Sofia Ariola goes over the top of the rider from Spain. Looked like Lira Olavarria, who was the rider who hit the deck, and Sofia Ariola a little bit winded there. That was a pretty hefty crash. Lira Olavarria looked like she just touched a wheel. She went down, and look at Sofia Ariola, had nowhere to go, straight over the top. Well, I'm pleased to say those 2 riders are back up on the track, and they are okay. As we work our way through now the rest of the eliminations, Anna Knauer was the rider who was eliminated that time from the race at the back for Germany. There is Anna Knauer. You'll notice the orange boxes on the handlebars with the flashing lights. That's how we know exactly which rider has been eliminated. That flashes the riders then know that they are out of the race. Now, who's going to be eliminated this time? It looks like it's the French rider, Laurie Burton, who is in a little bit of difficulty. So she is removed from the action. Been dicing a little bit at the back of that race. And it is now down to the final few riders on the track. 9 riders left. Every 2 laps, a rider is eliminated from the action. At the front of the race is the rider from Australia, Isabella King. At the back of the race right now, in a little bit of trouble, is the Polish rider, Małgorzata Wojtyra. And she is eliminated now from the action. Wojtyra will just sit up now, and she will go back into the track centre. This is the 3rd round, of course, of the women's Omnium. 6th round of competition. The first 3 on day 1, the second 3 on day 2 of the race. Kirsten Wild riding really well in this women's Omnium so far. Isabella King of Australia sitting well there, just pushing her way through, keeping herself out of trouble. And it is now number 15 who's eliminated. That's Amelie de Derrickson. If you're a big fan of women's cycling, you may remember Amelie de Derrickson as the rider who's won back-to-back junior world titles on the road. Only 19 years of age now, and in here mixing it at World Cup level. Very, very impressive indeed. So the Russian rider now is in trouble here at the back of the race. Evgenia Romanowita, we'll see whether she is eliminated. She desperately tried to find a little gap to go through, but it wasn't there. So Evgenia Romanowita is the next rider to be taken out of the race. So the top placings so far, Laura Trott and Kirsten Wild are still in there. Isabella King riding strongly for Australia. Julien Dora, the rider in all white, the World Cup leader, having won it in Guadalajara. Laura Trott chose not to ride the Guadalajara round of the World Cup in the Omnium. She was there, but she didn't ride. She rode the Pursuit, Team Pursuit, but it is the Italian rider who is removed from the action that time, Annalisa Cucinotta, who's actually been preparing for the Track World Cup by riding in Great Britain the last few weeks. She rode the Revolution Series. Isabella King then goes to the front for Australia. Alongside her, Kirsten Wild in the orange, in the white, Julien Dora. Towards the back now is number 13, who looks like she might be in a little bit of trouble, which is Lucy Zaleska of the Czech Republic. So she is removed, and we're down to the last 4 riders on the track. Julien Dora on the front, followed by Isabella King. Kirsten Wild, you think how many stage race victories she's had on the road in individual stages. She won the Tour of Chongming also. She's a fantastic sprinter, and she's using that to very, very good effect on the track now as she goes around the top. But it's going to be a sprint between Julien Dora and Laura Trott, as Isabella King now is removed from the action. We're down to the final 3 in this women's Omnium elimination race. It's been a tough one as well. The pace has been electric all the way through, as Kirsten Wild looks around to see where the Olympic champion is. Julien Dora will want to beat both of these riders, maybe just try and outwit them on the run into the finish. She's desperately trying to get to overtake Laura Trott, but she doesn't look like she's got the legs to do so. Trott manages to squeeze through. Julien Dora is eliminated from the race now. It is down to the top 2 riders who've dominated this women's Omnium. Could Laura Trott now take a hat-trick of victories at World Cup level? On 2 occasions, Laura Trott has won all 6 rounds of the Omnium competition, and Kirsten Wild will know that. This crowd are going completely and utterly crazy in this velodrome right now. Kirsten Wild, she'll be really motivated by this as well. The noise is absolutely tremendous. Wild now opens up the sprint. Trott right on the wheel. Can she get past her? Kirsten Wild looks strong, hits the line. A stunning sprint by Kirsten Wild. She's such a talented bike rider. And those 2 riders have been the top 2 in all 3 events so far. Kirsten Wild smiling away there. She wins the elimination. Laura Trott in 2nd, Jolien Dora in 3rd, Isabella King in 4th place for Australia. The live action now, 50 laps to go in this Omnium, the final round, the points race. And the sprint there was Amelie Derrickson, who looked to be taking the points ahead of the New Zealand rider. But with 50 laps to go, there is a lot of action going on right now. Amelie Derrickson at the front looks like she's pretty animated, but just to pick up on the scores before this, Laura Trott was the leader of the Omnium with an advantage of 14 points, but as you can see now, Laura Trott has 188, Jolien Dora has 175, Kirsten Wild 165. So it's pretty close between those 3 riders, with 47 laps of racing remaining. And they're sticking to each other, aren't they? They're all in a line. Now, just to remind you, 5 points on offer, 3, 2 and 1 at each of the sprints. And the Omnium competition, if you're just watching this for the first time for a little while, the Omnium competition has now changed. It used to be that if you won a race, you were given 1 point. If you were second, you got 2, etc. And at the end of the Omnium, the rider with the lowest number of points was the winner. But the events have now been shuffled around, and basically you are looking to score the most number of points you possibly can. So the points that you've accumulated by the time you get to this points race then mean that you add your points of the points race to try and close the gap on the rider in front of you, or in Laura Trott's case, to just try and extend your advantage or maintain it. So every single point in this points race absolutely counts right now. And just to remind you then, the point situation, Laura Trott is the leader right now with 188 points. Jolien Dora has now moved into 2nd place with 175. She had 172 previously. She was 2nd, but she's moved up a little bit. And Kirsten Wild is in 3rd place with 165 points. The next sprint coming up then. Sophia Areola, nice to see her recovered after a crash last night. She heads up to the line. She's going to take the 5 points. Caroline Ryan takes the 2nd place. Shufa Somnet took a point, took 2 points, and Isabella King of Australia also takes a point there. Sophia Areola there in the green and white of Mexico. Ryan in the green of Ireland. Somnet also there. Now, it is great to see Sophia Areola back racing. Last night, if you are a fan of Twitter, you may well have seen the size of the splinter that they had to remove from the rear of Sofia Areola after she crashed, and that looked extremely painful. But she is a fantastic bike rider. She makes her way around the track. A little bit of an attack now going on from Sofia Areola, Caroline Ryan. And of course, as far as points are concerned, they've got a long, long way to go to try and catch up with the rest of the riders. But Isabella King could close up here a little bit. She's a dangerous rider in this field. She's got a little bit of a distance to make up on the third place, but it is still very, very possible. Three riders then on the attack. Caroline Ryan of Ireland, Sofia Areola of Mexico, and they are about to take a lap here. So as they head up towards the back of the peloton, they're going to add 20 points to their points tally, and the crowd are going wild. And the reason for that, they obviously will automatically support Caroline Ryan from Ireland, but they will probably also have seen the amazing performance of Sofia Areola to get back on her bike and to be racing like this already. 20 points then to Somnet, to Ryan and to Areola, but the standings overall in this Omnium competition will remain the same. Laura Trott leads with 188 points, 175 to Jolien Dora and 165 to Kirsten Wield. 3 more sprints to go. 32 laps of competition remaining. On the front, Amelie de Derrickson in the red and white. Lyra Oraberia, the other rider who crashed yesterday, is right at the front there too. Kirsten Wield is looking interested in this one because the bell is going to toll, and there are 5 points on offer here, and it is now time for Kirsten Wield to try and close the gap. Isabella King looking to kick on a little bit. Laura Trott moves up on the outside. Jolien Dora also there. She's a dangerous rider. Who's going to come through? It could be, oh, Dora with a fantastic sprint. Look at that, the photograph between those 3 riders. When I say dangerous, I don't mean dangerous in riding. I mean that she's a danger to the overall lead here of Laura Trott. But look at this. It was de Derrickson, I think. Oh, no, Jolien Dora. Looks like she's accumulated another 5 points there. Kirsten Wield may well have just managed second. But do not discount this World Cup leader. She is a stunning rider. And she is going to close up on the lead here of Laura Trott. With that 5 points she's just taken. And confirmation then, she took 5, Kirsten Wield took 2, Isabella King took another point. Which means that I make it, by my quick reckoning, and I know those of you join me to watch these Omnium competitions, sit at home and try and keep your calculators going. We've got Laura Trott on 188, there she is, the leader. Jolien Dora now on 180, so she can now win this points race. And Kirsten Wield on 167 points, so very, very dangerous. There we go, confirmation then of that. And Isabella King on 153 points, so it's pretty close. .25 laps remaining, another 2 sprints. In fact, another 3 sprints, isn't it? So another 15 points on offer. 2 sprints, so another 10 points on offer for these riders, which means that Jolien Dora can win this points race. The next sprint coming up. Going away. And it's It's the Polish rider on the front. Of course, still, I was right the first time. 3 points, 3 sprints left, so we've got 3 occasions when these riders can accumulate points. One at 20, one at 10, and one on the finish line. So there are still 15 points on offer. This is a critical sprint now between these riders. And Isabella King is getting in the mix yet again, and looks like Laura Trott and the other 2 riders in the top places are quite happy to let this sprint go on. And that takes the pressure off Trott just a little bit there. A fantastic sprint by the rider from Russia to take the points there. That was Evgenia Rumanoita. She will take the maximum points. The Belarusian in second place, Isabella King of Australia in third place. So she'll add another couple of points to her total, which will bring it to 155 points now, as Laura Trott decides she's had enough and she crosses to the attack that was going on there, because she realised that Kirsten Wild and Julian Dora had gone slightly away from her. Just keeping pretty vigilant as to what is going on. Well, any one of these 3 riders can win this points race. It's a fantastic new format to be like this, because it keeps everyone guessing all the way through to the finish line as to what is going to happen. The next sprint will come up with 10 laps to go. A little bit of an attack then at the front from Germany. Confirmation then of the standings. Laura Trott leads with 188 points. Julian Dora with 180. Caroline Ryan looked like she was just going on the attack again as she dropped down the banking there. Looking to try and score a few more points if she possibly can. The Belarusian rider was also on the attack, Sharakova. Caroline Ryan has already taken 1 lap. Maybe she can take another one here and to move herself up in the ranking overall. 14 laps of racing remaining. A little breakaway here with the Lithuanian rider at the front in the red and yellow. And now Julian Dora being trapped all the time by Laura Trott, who recognises that there's a little bit of danger here. She said a couple of days ago that she was a little bit nervous about this Omnium competition. Being back here in London, she has ridden an Omnium here since London 2012, but not at World Cup level, and therefore she was just a bit concerned about the expectation on her shoulders. But the minute she gets in a bike race, it's a wholly different story, isn't it? Right, the penultimate sprint comes up. This point situation, 188, 175. Sorry, 188, 180, 165 is the point situation now. So let's have a little look as Laura Trott goes to the front. Well, right on cue, she goes through to take the points. She will take 5 to put herself on 193 points. Julian Dora took a point, which puts her on 181, and there's your answer, because it means that Laura Trott can now not be beaten in this Omnium competition. She waited and waited, and then right on cue she went through and she took the 5 points. There is the standings with 1 sprint remaining. Laura Trott will win the Omnium here in this World Cup in London. Julian Dora is in second place. Kirsten Wild with a very consistent performance all the way through. Looks like she will finish in third place, because Isabella King, I don't think, will be able to take a lap in the last 8 laps, and I'd be very, very surprised if Laura Trott let Kirsten Wild or Julian Dora take a lap in the last few laps. It's an unassailable lead. Of course, we always have to get right to the finish line. We don't want to wish any issues on anybody, but we'll wait and see what happens. But right now, unless Jolien Dora or Kirsten Wild took a lap. And then Laura Trott is going to stand on the top step of the podium, and this London crowd will be waiting for that. Thank you to those of you with Amelie de Therixen's pronunciation of her name. Always good to have a little bit of advice. And now we're getting the attacks going on yet again. 6 laps of racing to go. These riders have ridden 6 really tough events. As Laura Trott always says, I have to ride 6 really hard events to get 1 medal. But she absolutely thrives on it, absolutely loves it, as this German rider now goes on the attack yet again. She's been involved in all the action all the way through. Anna Knauer started this race 8th overall and is just stretching things out. Amelie de Therixen at the front in the group there. What a talent that young rider is. I think many teams are going to be looking to sign her because she is such a talented track rider and road rider, and at only 19 years of age, what an incredible talent to have in your squad to try and hone and build up and bring her to the very top of the world at an elite level. 2 laps of racing to go. Jolien Dora looks around. Laura Trott is right on her wheel. Kirsten Wild is also there. You have to really admire the performances of these riders. Laura Trott's just sitting back. She doesn't look like she's going to go for this sprint. She wants to stay out of any trouble. 1 lap of racing to go. The rest of the riders, of course, are looking to try and get points for the World Cup overall. Trott is just going to pedal in, and Romanoita of Russia is going to be the rider with Kuchinota on her wheel, who's going to take the final sprint. 46 kilometers an hour, and Laura Trott wins the Omnium here in London at this UCI Track Cycling World Cup. The fans are absolutely delighted. There's a little bit of emotion there from Laura Trott. She did say that she was a little bit nervous, as I mentioned earlier on, but she's high-fiving all the crowd, and they really do love her here. Smiling away after 2 days of stress. Well, all you can see is the smile, isn't it, behind that mirrored helmet. We must say, Jolien Dora, a fierce competitor, the 24-year-old from Ghent in Belgium. She's the leader of the World Cup, and there is Kirsten Wild. A very impressive performance by her. Laura Trott takes her visor off, just so everyone can see her face, because all we get is the smile otherwise, which is all very nice. But she's got so many young fans now. As she says herself, she's got a role to play in British sport, and that is to inspire youngsters to stay healthy, to stay fit, to ride their bikes. Look at that, she said to the crowd, give me a little bit of noise, let me hear the roar. Well, a fantastic performance, and they will greet her onto the podium in a little while. Laura Trott, the winner of the Omnium competition, carrying on where she left off as the Olympic champion here on the London boards. Look at that, the high fives all round. Well, we're going to turn our attention in a moment. There's confirmation of the results. 193 points, 181 to Dora, and Kirsten Wild in 3rd place with 167 points. A great performance by Isabella King there in 4th place for Australia. tongue out, still smiling. Well, she's going to get interviewed there in the track centre there by Jill Douglas. As we turn our attention now to the men's sprint semi-finals that we've been obviously watching during our coverage. Don't forget, you can join me on Twitter at @McCrossan if you'd like to join me and give us any insights, any thoughts. It's all very much appreciated. We do like to hear from you and take on board what you think. I know some of you would like to see the whole of the 3 days live. I've had some of those comments. I'm sure you'd love to hear that. It's a long, long time. Some of these sessions are quite a few hours. But if you want to sit there and watch, keep asking. You know, never know, it might happen sometime. The more people that watch, the more need there is for it, the more we will do more live coverage, I'm sure. Right, we're going to turn our attention then to the semi-finals of the men's sprint. Fabian Puerta making his way onto the track, the big Colombian powerhouse. Last few stretches before he gets on the bike. Matthew Archibald here is going to have to work his tactics out to try and take this victory. Fabian Puerta leads this after the opening contest. Archibald riding here for his trade team as opposed to his nation. And there is confirmation on the screen, the little green symbol there, that Fabian Puerta is the leader after one contest. So Archibald leads off, and they go pretty quickly away from the start that time. So I wonder what Archibald's tactics are going to be this time. Fabian Puerta, of course, is a rider who likes to race from the front, and he is very much on form. He goes up to the top of the track to try and give himself a little bit more speed if he possibly can. Puerta now starting to put the pressure on. Matthew Archibald trying to go with him. And he now is going to lead. Puerta is going to get into the slipstream. He's given himself something to chase. 1 lap to go as Archibald really gets on top of the gear, but Puerta goes around the outside. He's going to go drag race into the finish. 2-0 to Fabian Puerta of Colombia with a 10.5, the last 200 meters, 68.4 kilometers an hour. 2-0 to Fabian Puerta. He will go through to race for the gold medal, and Matthew Archibald will ride for the bronze. So we turn our attention then to the second of our semi-finals. This is Jeffrey Hoogland of the Netherlands. That's the little aerodynamic additions to his skin suit there. The little bobbles on the arms to help the airflow past him. And Hersney Canelon is adjusting the straps on his shoes. Some of these riders really do take a long time to get them absolutely perfect. There's a little bit of superstition from some of these riders to get the buckles absolutely lined up. One of them in particular is Anastasia Voinova. She adjusts her buckles on her shoes up and down until they are absolutely perfectly in line. Jeffrey Hoogland then sitting up, putting himself ready for this contest as the Venezuelan rider goes onto the wheel. These riders riding some pretty big gears on this track. I was talking to Victoria Pendleton yesterday, and she was saying, you know, you think about in the Keirin races, she was used to ride a 96 gear, but she knows that the likes of when she was racing, Chris Hoy and other riders would be on 108 as a gear. And she was saying yesterday that some of the women who are riding the sprints and the keirin races now are riding so much bigger gear than she used to do. Just the strength of these riders increasing all the time. Oh, that was a little bit close, wasn't it? As Hoogland went diving down the banking. This one's not for the faint-hearted at all. So we know that Fabian Puerta took the other heat. Who's going to take this one? Here we go now as Hoogland goes round the top, and Hersney Canelon looks like this time he's going to hold him off. 69.3 kilometers an hour. Hersney Canelon takes that one. The crowd really appreciating their sprinting here. The tactics between these two riders was fantastic. Jeffrey Hoogland diving down there. He almost touched the wheel of Hersney Canelon. Canelon really put the pressure on though, didn't he? Just holding inside that red sprinters line. Once you're inside it, you mustn't come out. Otherwise, there's an infringement and you can be relegated. But as they race across the line there, it was about half a wheel. And it is now 1-1 between these two riders. Hersney Canelon making it equal. So they're going to have to go to the decider in just a little while. We'll bring you the rest of that race. So we're going to turn our attention back now to bring you some of highlights of the keirin racing that we saw over the last couple of days. Keirin racing, of course, originated in Japan. It's a very different style, however, the Japanese keirin racing, to what you will see on the track here, because the tracks generally over in Japan, about 40 of them are held, different races, 40 different tracks, different races over there, but the tracks are big, open, outside bowls of about 400 meters. Six riders in the field in a keirin race here on these World Cups. Stunning racing as always. And if you haven't seen it before, the six riders line up behind what we call the Derny bike. Normally it is a motor-powered Derny bike, but as you can see here, we have got a new style of Derny, which is an electric bike. So at the front, things are a little bit quieter and a little less fume-filled than they were before. And lining up behind the bike, we have Edward Dawkins of New Zealand, Christoph Maxel in the red and white of Poland there towards the back, Nikita Shurshin of Russia near the front, sitting on the wheel of the New Zealand rider. Shershin of Russia in the white, blue and red. There is Edward Dawkins of New Zealand. Also in here is Francesco Cecchi of Italy in the blue. And in the stars and stripes, Matthew Baranowski. The rider right on the back here is Yuta Wakimoto from Japan, riding in the black of the Japanese professional cycling team. And if you look very closely, but I don't think you'll be able to pick it out on camera, he is wearing some of the logos of the Japanese Keirin Association. So over in Japan, in Tokyo particularly, they have lots of keirin racing. I was lucky enough to go there just a few weeks ago to really find out about what the originations of Japanese keirin racing are, and found out all about it. It was absolutely incredible to watch the whole traditions, the way everything is run. And of course they gamble on the racing. About $2 million a night is gambled in Japanese keirin racing. 3 laps to go as Edward Dawkins takes up the lead position. The Derny bike has disappeared and Dawkins looks to try and lead this one out if he can from New Zealand. The Polish rider just hanging back a little bit. He's going to have a little bit of a drive now towards the front as Shershin tries to get in contact. The Russian rider really working those elbows, isn't he? Look at those, pumping the bike to just try and get a little bit more pressure, but Dawkins is going to be the rider who hits the line first for New Zealand. Edward Dawkins takes the 7th place in the keirin contest. The big, powerful sprinters. Dawkins wins that one relatively easy by almost, well, certainly half a bike length, if not a little bit more. Shershin was driving in pretty late, but Edward Dawkins smiling away, being greeted by the very appreciative crowd here. He really enjoys riding in this velodrome, and he shares a little bit of fun there with a Polish rider next to him. Christoph Maxell, who took 2nd place there. Confirmation that Nikita Shershin took 3rd place in that sprint to give them the 7th, 8th and 9th places. Here's the lineup then for the men's keirin final. This is a star-studded affair, this one. 8 laps of the track again. Stefan Botica, a previous world champion of the sprint. Fabian Puerta, a world championship medalist, of course, in Cali in Colombia. The men's keirin, he took the silver medal. Won in that occasion just a few months ago by Francois Purvis. The Greek rider here in the blue is Christos Volikakis. In the lime green is Aziz Awang. Also in here, Kazunari Watanabe of Japan and Jason Kenny of Great Britain, a previous world champion of the keirin, and of course a 3 times Olympic gold medalist sitting here in the group. So 6 riders on the track. There is Jason Kenny. A lot is expected of him here in this keirin race by this crowd, as is always. A team sprint Olympic champion, Jason Kenny. He's got good memories of the boards here in London. Thank you to all of you for your messages. You can tweet me at @McCrossan. And wherever you are in the world, I'm sure you're enjoying this fantastic action. Bring you the highlights and, of course, the live coverage of the racing. So all 6 riders lined up on the wheels. Also great to know that the president of the UCI, Brian Cookson, is joining us to watch the racing too. Keen cycling fan, of course. He loves his racing and he is keeping an eye on everything that is going on as we see now with 2 laps to go, the race start to open up. This is going to be an incredible sprint in towards the finish line. It's the Colombian rider Puerto takes the initiative. Volikakis right on the wheel, all being pretty squeezed. Jason Kenny looking for a little gap, but it isn't opening up for him. Wang is going through the middle. He's going to try and take this one, but Puerto looking very, very strong, but challenging right to the finish. Stefan Botticher somehow found the gap to go through, and Stefan Botticher takes the win in the keirin competition for Germany. Well, he left that one very, very late, didn't he? It looked like it was a contest between Puerto and Wang. Jason Kenny just couldn't find any way through for Great Britain. Stefan Botticher, look at this replay. Wang is looking over his shoulder. Volikakis is right on the wheel. The Colombian rider Fabian Puerta has the initiative as they go round in the final couple of turns. Botticher's working really, really hard to get on terms, but it looked like he had just left it far too late. He went the wide way round. It's the longest way round, but he won it by about half a bike length there at the finish. Let's take a look as they hit the line. Certainly a wheel, and if not, a little bit more. A stunning performance there by Stefan Botticher. Confirmation then of the result of the men's keirin. Stefan Botticher of Germany wins, Fabian Puerta in second, and there is our podium today.
So, Stefan, congratulations. Talk me through how the race unfolded.
Thank you very much. It was really painful. The final was a long, long way for me in the third position, and I'm really happy with my victory today.
As we glance then across the velodrome, we're going to pick up on the men's sprint 5th to 8th places. And this is the lineup. Back live again now, flicking between live coverage and highlights of the last few days. Want to tuck as much into this programme as we possibly can so you get a real insight as to what it's all about. So lining up then for the 5th to 8th places, Ed Dawkins of New Zealand, Robert Forsterman, he of the Thais, Nikita Shershin of Russia, and Stefan Botticher that we just saw in the keirin taking the gold medal. Botticher though down in the 5th to 8th place ride-off, a little bit of unusual for him. 3 laps of the track as these riders now make their way onto the track to take their places and get this race underway. Forsterman clicks his feet into the pedals there. You're probably asking yourself the question, how does he get those thighs past the top tube there? They are incredible size. Nikita Shershin just doing up the buckles on the shoes. And already on the track is Edward Dawkins. So there is Edward Dawkins just getting himself ready for this contest. Dawkins, of course, a team sprint gold medalist in the World Championships in 2014 in Cali. Botticher, a world champion of the sprint. He won that in Minsk in Belarus. Robert Forsterman, one of the key riders in the German team sprint squad. He generally rides second man in the team sprint. And Nikita Shershin is the Russian rider. Underway then, 3 laps of the track. And we always get asked, why do they ride for the 5th to 8th places? But it's all important for points for the World Cup overall, but also because World Cups help these riders accumulate points toward World Championship qualification and, of course, selection for the Olympic Games. Always difficult with 4 riders on the track, though, as Forsterman makes his way up to the front. Oh, that was very, very close. He almost touched the wheel of Ed Dawkins. A little bit of movement going on there as Shershin goes to the front. Shershin now leading this one out. Dawkins working hard to get on top of the gear and get back into the slipstream. And now he's going to go the long way round. Dawkins, a fantastic team sprinter as well. He goes shoulder to shoulder as they head towards the finish line, but right through the middle, he's leaving it very, very late today, isn't he? Stefan Botticher looked like he just managed to squeeze through, but it's a photograph between Stefan Botticher and Ed Dawkins for the 5th place. I think he just managed to squeeze it. Let's take another look. Botticher sneaking through, leaving it so late. Dawkins in 2nd. Shershin, I think, took 3rd, and Forsterman was in 4th place. Forsterman then warming down there as Botticher. And there's confirmation then of the 5th to 8th places. Stefan Botticher of Germany just 0.018 of a second ahead of Edward Dawkins. Shershin in 3rd, sprint point there to take the other place. And Forsterman was at the back of the string that time. Well, of course, we've got to turn our attention then back to the men's sprint because we still have one of the semi-finals to be decided, and that is the sprint between Jeffrey Hoogland of the Netherlands and Hersney Canelon of Venezuela. Jeffrey Hoogland makes his way onto the track. There is Hersney Canelon. The little yellow thing that you may be looking at there and wondering what it's all about is a warning. So we got a warning in one of the previous rounds of the sprint for an infringement, and therefore it stays there during the contest. He doesn't want to get another one of those, otherwise he will be out. Who's going to take this one then? Interesting tactics will have to be used here to win this. They've got the measure of each other in 1 round each. Jeffrey Hoogland at the top, 21 years of age. He's actually been riding in Great Britain previously. He's ridden the Revolution series. But in terms of his overall performances in the last couple of years, he has been a medalist in the national championships on a number of occasions. So let's see who's going to take this one. Disc wheels on the back, bladed front wheels to give them a little bit of manoeuvrability. And Jeffrey Hoogland looking to get through to get the gold medal if he can. He's all over the track, isn't he? Hersney Canelon just keeping an eye. Both of these riders know they have the speed to beat their opponents, so Hoogland's going to go really, really high on the banking there, but I wonder whether he left a little bit too much of a gap. Well, the answer is no, because he now closes up on Hersney Canelon, who looks like he is really under pressure. Jeffrey Hoogland, the 21-year-old, goes round the outside. He takes the victory, 10.460, and he will go through to race for the gold medal. Hersney Canelon will race for the bronze. Here's a replay then. Canlon looked like he was under pressure all the time. I wonder whether he chose to put a slightly bigger gear on the bike, and it didn't quite pay off because Jeffrey Hoogland just looked fluid all the way through.
So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of the beautiful UCI World Championships on Saturday, covered by Madison, which is at one end of the velodrome.
So we'll let those riders just relax and cool down. They'll go back into the track centre, and they will make sure that they get back on the rollers. They'll recover. Because we're going to turn our attention now to the women's keirin. More live coverage for you. The women's keirin second round. And here is the lineup of the riders for this women's keirin. And this will be heat number 2 of the women's keirin that we're going to see shortly. So the riders then just getting themselves ready for action. Simona Krupe-Keita just adjusting her buckles on her shoes. And these riders making their way on to the track.
And there we go, 11, okay.
This is a Korean rider, Hae-Jin Lee. Getting ready for the race. This is Wai-Chu Lee of Hong Kong, China, a bronze medalist in the keirin in London 2012. This is Olga Ismailova. Some of you may well know her as Olga Panarina. Jun Hong Ling is the World Cup leader. Well, let's see who is going to take this one. The Derny bike is out. They've affectionately called this Derny machine in the centre of the track Ernie the Derny over the last few days. So 8 laps of the track as is normal. The riders line up behind the Derny bike, and they are, of course, not allowed to overtake the Derny at all. So 6 laps then of racing remaining as they line up on the bike. There is why Chu Lee is a really fierce competitor in this women's keirin contest, wearing number 210. The World Cup leader wears the all-white kit. If you're just wondering why are we seeing riders always in all-white kit, well, the reason is that they are presented with the all-white kit at the end of the round, and of course it's Xuan Guo, who is the women's keirin World Cup leader. Caption very slightly wrong a moment ago. And she is sitting right on the wheel. There she is, a really strong sprinter, a fantastic bike rider. She's got fond memories of winning medals here in the Olympic Games. As she looks around at the rider on her wheel, Simona Krupe-Keita there in the red and yellow. Olga Ismailova of Azerbaijan, right at the back of the string of riders in the blue and white coloured kit. Still a little bit cagey in there, isn't it, between these riders? Who is going to kick this one off? Well, the pressure is starting to go on now. Who is going to take this sprint? It is a tremendous sprint there by Wai Tzu Lee as they go now drag racing, and Wai Tzu Lee looking very, very strong as they head towards the finish line, and a blanket finish between them, 11.440, but it was Xuan Guo who took it, Wai Tzu Lee in second, Hei Jin Lee in third place. Xuan Guo looking very, very strong in this keirin contest, and she is the rider there who will safely qualify for the next round.
So welcome back to part 2 of half a minute to win it. The Lipscomb family did very well. They got 11 vegetables in 30 seconds. Now, Jacob Derrick is one of the riders for the USA team.
Confirmation then of the result of the second round of the women's keirin. 3 riders qualifying. Xuan Guo, Wai Tzu Lee. The first 2 riders in that contest, they are safely through to the next round. Right, the riders getting lined up then for the second of our heats here. Olivia Montalban, I must admit, she has been racing very, very well over the last couple of days here in London. A former European junior champion. There is Jessica Varnish of Great Britain. And just to let you know that there's going to be a little bit of a check of the result. The commissaires working here in the track centre. There may be a slight revision of the previous round, but there is Anna Mears riding in the green, white and yellow of Australia, but riding for her Jayco AIS trade team here. Christina Vogel, the world champion, there at the top, looking across at all the other riders. Vogel has been on tremendous form over the last couple of days as well. Here is Tian Shi Xiong. She finished second in the women's keirin in Guadalajara. The gun fires and these riders get underway. Olivia Montalban at the front, there is Anna Mears. Jess Varnish in Great Britain colours, Christina Vogel. Christina Vogel really becoming the most prolific winner of races in sprints now. She's up and coming for a long time, but now she really is one of those riders who you rarely see out of the medals. Anna Mears, of course, a world keirin champion in 2012, a world 500-meter time trial champion in 2012, where she set a world record of 33.010 for the 500 meters. And the Olympic champion of the sprints. Anna Mears, when you just go through her list of wins, it is such an impressive list of performances. I think if you add it up, it's something like 14 individual titles. She has been named as Australian Athlete of the Year. She took a little bit of time off after London 2012. I remember talking to her when she made her comeback, and she said, I just needed to get away from the pressure of competition. I'd achieved my Olympic dream in London, and she took a few months off, did a bit of travelling, just enjoyed being at home. But now she is back on the road to Rio. So Olivia Montauban is the rider who is right on the wheel of the Derny with 4 laps of racing remaining. Christina Vogel towards the back. And Jess Varnish makes her move up on the outside. Remember, 3 riders will qualify for the next round. And Varnish is swinging a little bit around the track there. She's trying to entice Anna Mears to go through, and she does. And it doesn't really work out for Varnish there, because she gets closed out, and she is now going to find it very, very difficult. Because, oh, a big crash there as Olivia Montauban hits the deck. A touch of wheels, and now it is Anna Mears with Christina Vogel going around the outside. Christina Vogel looking very, very strong as she heads towards the finish line. Vogel made that look very, very easy. 11.364. Song Chan Shi was in second place, and it looked like Ekaterina Nidenko who was in third. Olivia Montauban sliding along the track. She'll have lost a little bit of skin there, but Christina Vogel is the winner of that heat. She goes safely through to the next round. Let's take a look at the replay here. So Montauban, oh, it was Nidenko just moved down the track and took the wheel of Montauban away, just slid. Actually, she was very, very lucky, because she slid onto the Côte d'Azur there, which is the most smooth part of this track. There might be a slight revision of the result, but we'll wait and see. The commissars, the judges in the centre of the track, will have a look at the film, and they'll decide what the situation is. Here we go. Anna Mears was leading out. Nidenko was trying to get on the contact. Christina Vogel overtook Anna Mears there, and actually it meant that Anna Mears disappeared out of the selection. Vogel with the acceleration, she's got an incredible cadence right now, really fluid pedaling style, and she makes it safely through to the next round. Jess Varnish then having conversations with her mechanics and soigneurs there in the centre of the track. Christina Vogel will go back into the centre of the track now. She will warm down, and then she'll warm back up again. Qualification, just to confirm then that Christina Vogel qualifies with Zhong Chanqi and Ekaterina Nidenko. They are the top 3, unless there is any sort of discussion about Nidenko, but purely she just closed her line off, and Montauban, by the looks of things, was just inside the wheel. So I don't think there will be a revision, but then now I've said that, there probably will be. Vogel smiling away as she makes her way in to get on the rollers and just warm down before she gets ready for her next round. Thank you very much to all of you for joining me here for this coverage. There's confirmation of the second round. It will be Zhong Vogel, Wai-Chu Lee also qualifying, as we're going to move on now to our next race. This is the men's sprint finals coming up. The men's sprint finals coming up then. This will decide the medals. Hershny Canelon of Venezuela against Matthew Archibald. And this is the first ride. And remember, this is the ride for the bronze medal. We've seen these riders racing so far today. Matthew Archibald there in the black, Hershny Canelon in the colours of Venezuela. Archibald looking to see where Canelon is, and Hershny Canelon. Oh, I don't know what happened there, but he's decided that he's going to let Matthew Archibald go. So this is a real turn up for the books. Archibald looks around to see where Canelon has disappeared to, and the answer is that he's no longer there. I don't know what happened with Hershny Canelon. He looks like he's just sat up, and Matthew Archibald wins round number 1 for the bronze. He made that look very, very simple. Well, I can't see that anything happened. I don't know whether Hershny Canelon just felt he had an injury or something, or whether he's just suffering. But here we go. Let's just take a look at this. Archibald and Canelon side by side. And Canelon just sits up a little bit there. Well, actually, the back wheel of the bike looked to be kicking a little. I don't know whether he punctured or something else. Maybe he did. Well, they were very, very close to each other. I'm just looking to see whether Hershny Canelon's back wheel has gone down. It doesn't look like that. Here is the reasoning, though, because the judges, the commissars, are in the centre of the track, and they are looking to see whether there was some sort of infringement. Hershny Canelon, a Pan-American champion in the team sprint, the flying lap, and the sprint. He's the Venezuelan champion as well. So he obviously felt there was an infringement, so rather than make a big fuss of it, he just sat up and he said to the commissars, well, you must have noticed that, so you're going to do something about it, but we'll wait and see whether anything did happen. And here we are now with the ride for the gold medal between these two riders, Jeffrey Hoogland and Puerta. We have seen these two riders working their way all the way through to the final, and we've seen some fantastic sprinting between them so far today. Fabian Puerta in the colours of Colombia there at the front. Colombia with their magnificent velodrome in Cali. Means that this team are getting better and better all the time. Jeffrey Hoogland, we outlined a little bit about his previous performances just in his heat that we saw earlier. Let's see which of these riders is going to take the initiative. Hoogland went down the track there, and now he's got to get back on terms if he possibly can, but the Colombian rider really working this bike hard. He wants the gold medal. Hoogland putting in a momentous effort to try and go round the outside to take this one, but it is going to be 1-0 to Puerta. The crowd loving this sprinting. The Colombian rider is heading towards a gold medal right now. He looks really, really cool, doesn't he, today? Here's the replay. Hoogland working very, very hard to try and get back on terms with the fast-moving Colombian. inside the sprinters line. That's the red line round the track, and Hoogland just did not have the pace to go with it. Well, as we look across the velodrome again, hive of activity still there in the centre of the track. Well, we're going to turn our attention back then and bring you highlights of the women's sprint. This is the women's sprint semi-final, race number 2. Ellis Litley, the 20-year-old rider from the Netherlands, on the front there in the orange. Christina Vogel, an Olympic champion, a world record holder. Tracking her to try and dismiss Ellis Litley and go through to the final of the women's sprint. Litley has been looking like she is getting close to really top form now, heading towards the World Championships in France, as Vogel dived down the bank and she outwits her rival here. And the rider in the rainbow bands, despite Litley working hard here to get onto the wheel, Christina Vogel dismisses Ellis Litley and will advance to the final. Fantastic sprinting by Christina Vogel. 2-0 to her. Ellis Litley is the rider who will go through to ride for the bronze. These two riders then have been racing very strongly in the women's sprint. This is Anastasia Voinova in the white of the World Cup leader. With her is Qian Zhong of China. Anastasia Voinova took the women's sprint in the last round in Guadalajara, and Voinova is looking to now try and dismiss Zhong Chanchi and go through to the final to face Christina Vogel. Voinova looking so confident in that World Cup leaders kit, holding Zhong Chanchi up the track, and Voinova, look at the elbow out, just keeping the track. Now she's got to really try and hold it. She's got to put the pressure on. That is very, very difficult to do. Voinova heading towards the finish line. She takes that one. That is a display of fantastic sprinting. Yeah, very, very appreciative crowd. Anastasia Voinova goes 2-0. This is to decide the bronze medal. And this is the second heat. Ellis Litley and Zhong Chanchi. Litley is the leader after one of the rounds. Stunning pictures here as we track our way along this 250-metre velodrome, right alongside the riders. Here, the chain going round. You're almost right on board the bike, aren't you, there? Everything totally matching on Zhong Chanchi's bike. Look at that, all red and yellow, the red and yellow kit. Even patent leather, red shoes to match. So can Ellis Litley win this one and go away with the bronze medal. Very high up the track here as the bell is rung in this women's sprint. Lidley goes around the outside, the long way round, and she looks to have the power as she now opens up a gap. She's going to take the bronze medal, third place for her. She has produced a series of fantastic sprinting over the last few days. Alice Lidley takes the bronze medal. Well, she's been a European junior champion. And I think over the next few years, you are going to see this young Dutch rider just get better and better. 2-0. She doesn't need to go to the decider. And so we turn our attention then to the second heat of the final for the gold medal. Kristina Vogel, the world champion, against Anastasia Voinova, the World Cup leader there in the white. Kristina Vogel always has that little touch of bit of pink on her bike. You'll notice the pink ends on her handlebars. Also got just slight pink insides to her gloves that she's wearing. It's a little bit of a superstition of Kristina Vogel's. On her bike, when she rides with Miriam Velter, they both ride the black bikes of the German team. And if you notice, when you look closely, Miriam Velter has white decals on the bike, and Kristina Vogel has changed hers to pink. Tracking our way around then with these two riders on the Côte d'Azur, the blue area around the bottom of the track. And Vogel now deciding to climb the boards, going above the blue line. The blue line is the pacer line around the track. The red line is the sprinter's line. Once the sprinter has dived inside that in the last 200 meters, they mustn't come back out of it. As Voinova now looks to try and get Vogel where she wants her. The bell tolls. Voinova again. We've seen her riding so well in this series of races. Voinova now gets out of the saddle and puts in a big burst. Vogel hanging back just a little bit. She's going to try and go the long way round to the finish line, and it's going to be really close on the line, but it looks like Vogel has taken that one just ahead of Anastasia Voinova. She left that very late indeed, but Kristina Vogel had the speed and the power. The world champion wins the gold medal in the World Cup. Look at this, leaves it so late, throwing the bike at the line and just beating Anastasia Voinova for the gold medal. She's extremely happy with that. Punch in the hair. She shows her emotion, Kristina Vogel, and there she is smiling away on the podium. There's your top three.
It feels so good. It feels so good to win here in London especially. And after more than 12 hours in that heat, it's good to go home and to sleep. Always great to ride in Britain because there's crowd, you hear it, it's just amazing. It's so loud and it's just push yourself that much. And there are a lot of emotions you had. Yeah? You remember everything what was like in the Olympic Games, and you hear that music. Sometimes the same music at the Olympics, and my skin is crumbling when you hear that. It is that amazing. But I miss the Olympic rings on the track.
Wonderful to hear from Kristina Vogel. She describes it exactly how it is. And she's absolutely right. Everyone's got goosebumps. The hairs on the back of your neck stand on end. The roar in this velodrome for these riders is incredible. We turn our attention now to the women's team sprint. This is Russia versus Team Jayco AIS. And this is to decide the bronze medal. This is Katerina Didenko and Anastasia Voinova against Anna Mears and Stephanie Morton. as they go to the line, and it is Team JKOS at 0.197 down on the Russian team. So Nadenko and Voinova looking very, very strong. Stephanie Morton, a former gold medalist in the Paralympics as a pilot, trying now to bring them the bronze medal, but they don't manage to do it. So it is Russia who take the bronze against the might of Anna Mears and Stephanie Morton. That was a tremendous sprint. Katerina Nadenko and Anastasia Voinova, they were the winners there of the bronze medal. It looked to me like the JKO-AIS team just gave themselves a little bit too much to do. 33.392 for the Russian team. As we turn our attention now to the gold medal. China with Jinji Gong and Zhong Chanxi. And Germany with the world champions, Christina Vogel and Miriam Velter. Also, the world record holders in 32.153. Here we go then. Who is going to take the gold medal? As the Chinese team look a little bit ragged here. A bit of a gap between them. Chen Qi-chong and Jinji Gong, the two riders now, going head-to-head with the world champions. Who is going to take this one? This is going to be very, very close between these two squads as they head towards the finish line. They hit the line there, and there on the screen, Germany with the fastest time. Christina Vogel looks across, and the Chinese team, well, they thought they had this one as a win, and in fact, look, it's been corrected. China 33.010. So China take the gold medal in the women's team sprint. There's our podium then. China take the gold medal, Germany take the silver, Russia take the bronze. Well, before we go live to the action of the men's points race, let's take a little bit of a look back here at what happened in the first three races in the men's Omnium competition. Starting off the same as the women with the scratch race. All the riders up on the track, 24 riders taken to the start. The gun goes for the first of the races, and we get underway. Well, the attack now on as we look at these riders starting to make a little bit of a move off the front. And it's the rider from Hong Kong, China, King Lok Chung, who is slightly on the attack here, and being joined by the looks of things by the American rider Bobby Lee. Bobby Lee now in the Stars and Stripes, the rider who's been riding well in the World Cup so far this season, and you can hear the roar of the crowd. And the reason for that is that Jonathan Dibben of Great Britain now makes his way off the front of this race. Can these three riders take a lap? And in fact, it looks like they are going to take a lap, and they have now. So these three riders have taken a lap on the rest of the field. Oh, big crash there as the Greek rider hits the deck. Look at that, that was a very, very big crash. Right, we're heading towards the final sprint, but remember, it's not about the front of this race here, but they need to get their placings for the overall Omnium, because Bobby Lee, King Luk Chung and Johnny Dibben are the three riders who've taken a lap on the rest of the field. Throwing their bikes to the line, Thomas Boudat, the world champion of the Omnium, but the win goes to this rider from the United States of America, and he will go top of the leaderboard. Bobby Lee wins the Omnium scratch race. Here we take a look then at the individual pursuit, and Gaviria and Jonathan Dibben are on the track. The two riders racing neck and neck here. Dibben third overall in the Omnium competition, Gaviria in fourth place, but Gaviria of Colombia is about to produce a ride here that is, I think, going to be a personal best, because he is absolutely flying around the track. And bearing in mind that Jonathan Dibben is one of Great Britain's team pursuit squad, Gaviria can see the rider from Southampton in England just in front of him. Gaviria now closing up on the rider of Great Britain. This is a bit of a turn up for the books. One lap to go, and Gaviria is being urged on by the crowd, and he is going to, by the looks of things, smash the time of any other rider. He hits the line in 4:21.998, the Colombian rider. He shakes his head, and so does everyone else. That is a stunning performance. 4:36.17, and Gaviria is going to win the individual pursuit with an absolutely fantastic ride. Jonathan Dibben just spinning the pedals over there, but Gaviria with 4:21.998, he is the winner of the individual pursuit, moving him right up the standings. Well, we'll just take a look here at the ride of Bobby Lee, the leader, just to give you an update on how he did in the individual pursuit. Riding strongly, Bobby Lee, rocking a little bit compared to the other rider who was on the attack with him earlier, Chung Lok from the Hong Kong China team. But Bobby Lee looks here like he is going to score another strong performance and could be in second place as he heads now around the track. And Bobby Lee, just to update you here on his performance, with Gaviria winning, Bobby Lee takes the second place to keep him well up the standings. 54.118 kilometers an hour. King Lok Chung was a little bit further back as Bobby Lee almost caught him. Confirmation then of Bobby Lee being in second place, which left him after two events at the top of the standings with 78 points compared to 74 of Gaviria, and Jonathan Dibben of Great Britain in third place with 66. Here we are with the elimination race, the third round of this Omnium competition, with Bobby Lee the leader. The elimination race, for those of you who've never seen it before, one rider is eliminated every couple of laps until we get down to the last two riders on the track, and then it is an almighty sprint for the line. Of course, in the Omnium competition, same as the women's contest, you need to accumulate as many points as possible over the time that the racing is on, the 6 different rounds, or 5 rounds, and then in the points race you have to try and close the gap on the rest of the riders, or indeed extend your advantage, a little bit like Laura Trott did earlier on. So Gumarov of Uzbekistan, oh, a big crash there as two riders hit the deck, and it looks like the Brazilian rider touched the wheel of Thomas Budat. So these two riders now on the deck. The Chinese rider is the one who hit the ground the hardest. It looks like Lu Hao. So let's just take a look. It was actually Gaviria who touched, sorry, Budat who touched the wheel of Gaviria, and then the Brazilian rider also unable to stop the crash. Look at this one. Budat, the world champion, touched the wheel, and Montero then crashed. And the Chinese rider, with some battle scars now, is about to rejoin the action. And next up we've got another rider down here, and Tim Velt of the Netherlands, pretty badly shaken, has also hit the deck. And Aaron Gate has too. So Aaron Gate, the New Zealander, looking pretty cut up. The yellow flag is out. Yellow flag is a little bit like the safety car in Formula 1, I guess you could say. Let's take a look. We didn't see what happened with this crash, and it was again, Boudat again involved in the crash, the world champion, taking away the bike of Aaron Gate, and then Tim Veld had absolutely nowhere to go. Look at this. Oh, Veld going really heavily over the top there, the rider from the Netherlands, and he's going to be pretty badly shaken. He's got most of his lycra is intact, his numbers have been ripped off, and Tim Veld is back up on the track, as indeed is Aaron Gate and all the other riders, but Veld has stayed in the group with 5 riders left, and we're down to the final 4. So 4 riders then left on the track. The Spanish rider has just been eliminated, and miraculously Tim Veld is still in the top 4 despite him hitting the deck in that really heavy crash. The Belgian rider then at the front, and it is Jasper de Bus, Thomas Boudat also in the group here, the Colombian rider Gaviria, who is looking really strong in this Omnium competition, and Jasper de Bus, despite many Belgian fans being in the London Velodrome, is eliminated that time, and still Tim Veld, maybe the adrenaline rush, is still in this contest. 3 riders left. Gaviria of Colombia, the winner of the individual pursuit. Thomas Boudat, the world champion, who now rides as of the 1st of November for the Eurocar team. And Tim Veld tracking him very, very closely. Gaviria is going to go around the outside here. Thomas Boudat looks round at him. Tim Veld's got no numbers left, but he's going to try and go the long way round. Surely he's not going to get through here. Well, he does. Tim Veld, to the delight of the crowd, is into the last 2 riders in this elimination, and the crowd certainly love the underdog. The rider who's hit the deck, Gaviria, is eliminated that time, but Tim Veld is going to fight it out for the win in this elimination, despite being sitting on the track just a few moments ago. So it is all between Tim Veld and the world champion Thomas Boudat. Look at the amount of rash that he's got on his back, but Veld now is going to lead this one out. Surely he's not going to win this one. It is Boudat who's having to sit up. Tim Veld wins the elimination race. Well, the crowd are on their feet. Look at the big smile. I don't think he can quite believe it himself. He's got a night to try and recover. Tim Veld wins at the elimination race. There's confirmation then that Tim Veld took it ahead of Thomas Boudat, Fernando Gaviria. And there is the road rash, or the track rash, of Tim Veld. The standings then after 3 events, Gaviria leading with 110 points, Boudat in second with 96, Bobby Lee with 92. As we join here with the points race. And just to bring you up to date then on the screen, you see that the points situation, Gaviria with 191. Scott Law of Australia riding very well with 163. We haven't even mentioned him in the recap. Bobby Lee of the United States of America with 158. And Tim Veld is still up there with a 4th position right now, which is a fantastic performance from him. Thanks to all of you for your messages. I'm sorry I haven't mentioned any of your messages in Twitter for a little while, but thanks to those of you who messaged me at @McCrossan. I think those of you who are watching that elimination enjoyed seeing the heroics of Tim Veld. What a stunning performance from him. .93 laps to go in this points race competition. So the Colombian rider Gaviria is the leader. 4 riders just slightly off the front of the race here. And sitting a little bit further back. We'll just try and pick out where Gaviria, where Scott Law and where Bobby Lee of the United States of America are. Jonathan Dibben, just to update you, we saw him riding strongly at the beginning of the Omnium competition, but in the elimination race he pulled his feet out of the pedals, and therefore he was one of the first riders to be eliminated from the action. That is the reason why you are not seeing Jonathan Dibben, who has performed very strongly over the entire contest, in the top 3 places. He lies 6th overall at this point in time. Well, having just mentioned him, Jonathan Dibben now is going to go on the attack for Great Britain, wearing number 121. We have a group of riders away here, including the former world champion Aaron Gate. You can see him there in the black. He was one of the riders who had that crash earlier on in the contest, with a similar crash in the crash with Tim Veld and Gaviria. But Aaron Gate, as you can see, has got the rainbow bands around his sleeves, signifying that he is the former world champion. Thomas Boudat on the front, the world champion. He, before this race, was lying in 5th place overall with 140 points. Aaron Gate there, crossing the line at the points situation. Coming up shortly, I'm sure we'll just update that, but still Gaviria is the leader of this race. No one has managed to take a lap whilst we've been live here, as we see now a little bit of an attack from the Mexican rider trying to go away. Ignacio Sarabia at the front of the race. Sarabia then trying to go away. There is Bobby Lee of the United States of America lying 3rd overall. Thomas Boudat, and confirmation then that Gaviria is still the leader with 194. Scott Law with 163. Bobby Lee with 158. Tim Veld could close up on the riders in front of him, and he could put himself on the podium. Gaviria, the leader, wearing number 10. Now we see the attack from the Italian rider going away here to try and take a lap. Simone Consoni is the rider who is going away, but Jonathan Dibben of Great Britain has used that one to try and break the will of the rest of the riders. He has got a possibility of moving up into the top 4 if he can take a lap on the rest of the field. To try and get any further up the standings would be pretty difficult. Well, I hope you've managed to work out in your heads how this Omnium competition now works. So 5 rounds of competition. The next sprint is coming up now. And it is Jonathan Dibben of Great Britain with Bobby Lee of the United States of America. Gaviria also there, as is Scott Law of Australia. But Dibben is going to score some points here. Lee takes some second place points. He takes 3 points. Gaviria takes 2, and Scott Law takes 1, which means Gaviria now will be on 196. Scott Law will be on 164, and Bobby Lee will be on 161. So he's closing up on the points total here of Scott Law, getting a little bit closer. There is Scott Law of Australia. I know all the Australian fans, I know so many of you like to watch the racing that we bring you here from this London Velodrome, but also across the globe in the World Cups. And Scott Law is doing you proud right now, sitting there in 2nd place in the group. Tim Veld, as he tries to work out a way to get himself into the medal opportunities. Thomas Bouda of France on the front now, takes a little bit of a look around. He's such a keen competitor. Won that world title before he turned professional fully with one of the top teams. And now he's trying to take a lap. He's been joined here by the Japanese rider, who is combining with him. They're sharing the pacemaking. And the Japanese rider, Katsushika Koboki, he's got these lime green shoes on that we've been marvelling at over the last few days, and he generally matches them with bright yellow socks. He has looked exactly like that all the way through the contest. Scott Law then from Australia, 23 years of age, comes from New South Wales, a place called Blacktown. Has been a junior national champion on the track. In fact, he's won about 7 national titles. And he's also ridden Scott Law for the Ampost Sean Kelly team, and he'll ride. He rides for the Avanti team in Australia. Thomas Bouda, you'll see, got Eurocar on his legs, so the Eurocar team trying to be a world tour team in 2015. But let's turn our attention then to the next sprint. Gaviria is the leader with 196, but Kuboki of Japan and Thomas Bouda looking to try and take the maximum points if they possibly can take them away from the rest of the field. There's those green shoes and yellow socks. They don't match the rest of the Japanese outfit at all, but he likes to wear them. Aaron Gate sprinting for the line with Olivier Beer of Switzerland, but none of the top riders overall in this Omnium competition scored points that time. Look at them throwing their bike at the line. Aaron Gate looks like he just took the points ahead of his competitor on the inside. 69 laps remain. Well, look at this. Gaviria goes on the attack. He goes immediately across to the leading 3 riders. He is making this Omnium competition look very simple. A fantastic individual pursuit. Let's just update ourselves on his performances so far. 4th in the scratch race, winner of the individual pursuit, 3rd in the elimination, 2nd in the time trial, 2nd in the flying lap, leaving him overall the leader. It's all about consistency, and then after that it's all about riding the points race and making sure that you do not let your competitors get away from you in the points race competition. Laps from the next sprint as we see Gaviria dominating the front of this race. Jesper de Bus now goes on the attack, wearing number 3 for Belgium. I mentioned earlier, lots of Belgian fans have been here in the track over the last few days. Amy Cure, the Australian world champion, rides, of course, for a team of Lotto Belisol, and she was saying yesterday it was fantastic to have so many people supporting her here in this velodrome, because she's got some Australian fans here, but she's also got all the Belgians who have got in the cars and got in the buses and come over, jumped on the train, come into London, and they have been supporting with the Belgian flags out, as you would expect, drinking quite a few beers and having a fantastic time. It's funny, last night I saw Amy Cure riding out of the velodrome in the dark with her lights on, just riding back to her hotel. No one would even know that she's a world champion on the track. Pedaling away, sitting next to us as we got our cab back to hotel, which was a lot further away than Amy Cure was heading to. Right, here we go. Jesper de Bus now is going to take the 5 points on his wheel. There's the rider from Hong Kong, China, King Lok Chung. And we didn't quite catch a glimpse there, but Sebastian Mora took the 3rd place. But importantly, Scott Law took another point, which will move him up onto 165. opening up his advantage on Bobby Lee of the United States of America. There is confirmation of the current points standings. Gaviria with 196, Scott Loyne second with 165, Bobby Lee with 161, Tim Veld with 156 in fourth place. And you really have to admire him after he crashed so heavily in that elimination race. Aaron Gate looking around then, the New Zealander, to see whether there is a possibility of zooming away to take a lap on the rest of the field. Being joined immediately by the Russian rider, who is going to combine with him now, and that is Viktor Manakov. Viktor Manakov, a previous medalist, of course, on the track. Manakov was the bronze medalist in the men's Omnium in the World Championships in Colombia. Tim Veld, of course, was the silver medalist in Cali. But Manakov doesn't look to have been on top form during this World Cup Omnium, as they swing up the track. 4 or 5 riders going away, and Tim Veld of the Netherlands is on the front. There he is, he swings up the track. There is a nice study of Aaron Gate. You'll notice the little black box behind his saddle. It doesn't record in case he crashes. It gives him all the data to ensure that he knows exactly how his performance is going. Here in the track, if you are just looking around, you're wondering what goes on. In the track centre, you have all the coaches looking after the interests of the riders, but actually up on one side by the finishing line, you have all the sports scientists. They film every single race and they help analyse the data to help these riders improve their performance all the time. And now we are seeing the next sprint. Viktor Manakov is the rider at the front in the red, white and blue of Russia. And he took the points there ahead of Ichaichev. Aaron Gate in third, King Lok Chung in fourth place. So Aaron Gate starting to get in the mix a little bit, maybe just a little bit sore after his crash of yesterday. Started this race in 10th place overall with 108 points, looking to move himself up the standings. Thank you very much to all of you who've joined me on Twitter today. @McCrossan is anyway you can ask me any questions while this points race continues. 48 laps to go, but it looks like we've got 4 riders who could be about to take a lap. Viktor Manakov leading the group of riders. With him is the rider from Belarus, who is in the second wheel there, as they look to try and close up on the leaders. And also in the group is Aaron Gate. So 3 riders we've mentioned there. Also with King Lok Chung, I think, also took a lap. And now we get the attack of the Mexican rider. And this is Ignacio Sarabia, who is going off the front of the race. Confirmation then of the riders who took that lap, and now we're getting the counter-attacks. The Belarusian Alea Aiche was the other rider who took that a lap. So 4 riders then, taking an additional 20 points. None of them were really endangering the overall lead. It does mean, though, that things will have shuffled around a little bit, and those 4 riders will have moved up the standings. Manakov will be a little bit happier with that. Since the racing started, he hasn't really been in the mix. He's been down in 21st place before the start of this points race. 41 laps remaining. We're heading towards the next sprint of the day, and these 2 riders are out in the front. Number 37 from Mexico, Sarabia, and on the front there from Switzerland is Olivia Beer. Those 2 riders now trying to take the points. Bobby Lee managed to score, I think, the 3rd placed points there. And Scott Law also took another set of points too. The point situation then, Gaviria still leading with 196, Scott Law with 166, Bobby Lee with 163. Only 3 points between the silver and bronze medal so far. So Bobby Lee just closing the gap on Scott Law of Australia. Those 2 riders sitting side by side in the peloton. Still Sarabia and Olivia Beer are the 2 riders off the front, as Thomas Buda tries to now break the will of the rest of the riders as well. Confirmation then of the standings. I think we're keeping pretty good track on that. Gaviria with 196, Scott Law with 166 of Australia, Bobby Lee of the United States 163, and Tim Velde of the Netherlands still sitting there with 156 in 4th place, just out of the medals right now. So Velde, if he's feeling at all like it, is going to have to try and go on the attack here and take a lap to move himself up into the 2nd place overall. If he did that, that is where he would end up. I wonder whether he's got it left in him to do it. A fantastic performance by him so far. 35 laps remaining. Sarabia off the front of the race with a slender advantage of around about 1/4 of a lap on the rest of the field. Well, we will be bringing you more action throughout the rest of our highlights here. We're going to bring you the men's sprint, which will be live after this. Then we'll bring you highlights of the men's team pursuit, and then we'll also then bring you the women's keirin final as well. So lots more action to come here. Don't disappear as Jonathan Dibben now goes on the attack. With 32 laps remaining, still Sarabia of Mexico is slightly off the front as Dibben tries to move himself up the standings. Remember, all these riders, they're not going to be satisfied with their current placings as Jonathan Dibben goes round the outside to score another 5 points. Casper Pedersen was in 2nd. Scott Law that time took the 2 points, moving him on to 168, and that will extend his advantage on Bobby Lee. Those 2 riders having a real battle between them. Casper Pedersen crossing the line there. They just caught the Mexican rider Sarabia before the line. Jonathan Dibben then scoring maximum points to move himself up the standings just a little bit, starting in 6th place. He's creeping closer to that of Thomas Buda. 28 laps of racing remaining. There is Scott Law, fantastic performance by him. So if you're an Australian fan right now, a silver medal is heading towards Scott Law. And there are the standings on the screen for you. Confirmation that the gap has grown again to 5 points. 6 laps to go. And the German rider now just trying his hands. That's, of course, the rider who rides for Yam Cycling, Roger Kluge. Kluge, 4th in the Tour of Qatar on the road. Gaviria still there, still sitting in the wheels. He doesn't have to do anything right now unless he sees one of the danger men go on the attack. 24 laps to go. Scott Law still on the front of the group. Well, Roger Kluge now continuing with his attack. This rider riding for the Yam Cycling team, who've just been confirmed as a World Tour team for the 2015 season. Of course, his teammate, Matthias Brentler, was the rider who broke the hour record just a few weeks ago. But Roger Kluge now heading towards the... Oh! I'm just looking to see, I think there was a crash there. And the bell is Jonathan Dibben of Great Britain, who hits the deck. Well, he's had lots of bad luck. He pulled his foot out in the elimination yesterday, and now Jonathan Dibben is out. And he's now got to get back on the track, but Kluge is going to take the maximum points. Aaron Gate is going to take some points, and Scott Law and Bobby Lee continue with their little battle that is going on here. But the advantage grows yet again. Jonathan Dibben on the final day of competition there. He just was trying to sneak through, and yet again Thomas Budat is the wheel that Jonathan Dibben hits. Well, I'm sure it is a pure coincidence, but all 4 crashes that we have seen in the Omnium competition have involved riders hitting Thomas Budat's wheel. Big attack now going on, and it's Jasper de Bust. As he goes on the attack, Roger Kluge looks around and realises he's got to work hard here, because Jasper de Bust and Manakov are moving very quickly. De Bust will help Roger Kluge out there by slotting into the gap. 17 laps remain, and it's still Gaviria of Colombia with 196 compared to Scott Law with 170 and Bobby Lee with 164. There is confirmation of the last sprint. Jasper de Bust always looks to me like he's got a big smile on his face as he's racing. He obviously thoroughly enjoys going on the attack, and there are the standings. Gaviria 196, Scott Law 170, Bobby Lee of the United States 164, and Tim Veld in 4th place, still with 156. Well, Scott Law so far this season has won the Omnium at the Oceania Championships. He won the scratch race there as well, and the Madison in the Oceania Championship, so he's right on form. And last year he took some titles as well. He won the scratch race in the Australian National Championships. He also won the Omnium in the Bike New Zealand Classic and the scratch race in the Bike New Zealand Classic. So a rider who is winning more and more races all the time. Must just say thank you to all the nations, we've never done that before, who provide us with lots of information before these World Cups. The Australians, the British, and in particular very active on making sure that we are right up to date with as much knowledge as we possibly can, which complements our homework that we do all the time as commentators to try and make sure we're right on the knowledge of the riders. But Manakov, de Bust and Kluge are the riders who've scored the points, but Scott Law sneaks through again to take the point that was on offer, so he's now on 171, and it looks like Scott Law here is going to take the silver medal. It'd be very, very difficult for him to, in the last 9 laps, take a lap and close up on Gaviria and win this race. In fact, it's pretty impossible for him to win now, but he has really cemented his position in the silver medal of this six-round Omnium contest. There is Gaviria, the leader of this Omnium contest. He has ridden a fantastic series of races. As I mentioned earlier on, fourth in the scratch race to open up. Won the individual pursuit with that ride of 4:21. The elimination race, he was in third place. The time trial second, flying lap second. And now he is going to remain at the top of the leaderboard with 7 laps remaining now. The medals, barring any accidents, are going to Gaviria of Colombia, Law of Australia, and Bobby Lee of the United States of America. As we see another big attack going on now. And this is King Lok Chung of Hong Kong, China, trying to join up now at the front of the race with Jesper de Bust, Roger Kluge in the white and black shorts there of Germany. Victor Manikov, a previous medalist in the World Championships in the Omnium competition. 4 riders now combining at the front. 5 laps to go. They look like they're going to take the final points. They may even take a lap on the rest of the field. 4 laps to go. Gaviria now goes on the attack. A little bit of showboating here by the rider who's going to win. Look at the speed of him. He has got tremendous form. If he can carry this through to the World Championships, we could be looking at a World Omnium champion in France in February. A stunning performance by him as he closes up on the rest of the field. He takes Casper Pedersen with him, and Gaviria now with 196 is going to win this Omnium contest. He's also going to go for the final sprint to give himself a total of over 200 points if he can. He's looking to try and take the final sprint. Pedersen on his wheel. Manikov is there. King Lok Chung is there too, but Gaviria is going to have to just sit up. He hasn't quite got the legs to go with it. And over the final line, Casper Pedersen takes it. Gaviria sits up. He punches the air. 51 kilometers an hour that sprint, that points race was. But it is going to be the gold medal to the Colombian team with Fernando Gaviria. He will score the points total that gives him the gold medal. He's congratulated there by Scott Law of Australia, who will also take the silver medal, and Bobby Lee of the United States of America will take the bronze. Special mention goes to Tim Velter after his crash in the elimination, who gave us such a fantastic race to cheer on. Well, in Guadalajara in the World Cup, there's a Colombian flag. He's going to go around and get that, I'm sure. Bobby Lee took the bronze medal in Guadalajara. He's going to take the bronze medal yet again. And the crowd really enthralled by that points race. Gaviria giving them a big round of applause. Well, some fantastic sights there of this rider on absolutely top form. Confirmation then of the standings after 6 events. The gold medal goes to Colombia with 197 points. Australia with Scott Law take the silver medal with 171, and Bobby Lee of the United States of America takes the bronze medal. There's the rundown of the next page, taking us down to the 16th position there, made up of Simone Consoni of Italy there in 16th position. Well, don't disappear, because in a few moments we're going to bring you the live men's sprint finals, and then we're going to give you highlights of the men's team pursuit before we end today's broadcast with the live women's keirin. We turn our attention then to the men's sprint finals. This is a second heat, and we're going to bring you the ride for the bronze medal and, of course, the gold and silver. Well, we're just replaying there what happened in the last heat for the bronze medal between this man, Archibald, and Canelon. Archibald has a warning, but he has not been relegated. Archibald then making his way onto the track in the black, the New Zealander. Won a bronze medal in the men's kilometre time trial in the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow just a few months ago. 28 years of age. Comes from Hamilton in New Zealand. As we get a little bit of a sight of him doing up the straps on his shoes. In fact, that is him making his way onto the track now. So a warning there, that little yellow sign signifying the warning, but in fact both of these riders have warnings from their rides today. But Archibald is leading 1-0. The commissars, the judges in the centre of the track, they always consider and make sure that the rules are played fair. They'll look at the videos, they'll look at the photographs, they'll, in some occasions, listen to the riders, and then they'll make their rules decision about exactly what happened. But in order to get the bronze medal, Canelon has to beat Matthew Archibald here. So the Venezuelan has some work to do. You'll notice there the coach on the inside of the track in the blue t-shirt just telling his rider to go up the track to try and get a little bit of height. But Archibald, to me, seems to like to ride off a very fast pace. Canelon now looking to get in front of him. In fact, Archibald, at the moment that he looked frontwards, Canelon then used that to good effect, and he now has the initiative at the front of this race. Archibald trying to go around the outside. Can Canelon take this one? And it's close on the line, but Canelon equals it up. So it's going to go to a decider, 67.6 kilometres an hour. And a bronze medal not decided yet. Here's the replay. Archibald was having to work really hard. Look at his bike, it's all over the place as he tries to get as much power through the pedals as he can. But Hershey Canelon will take it to the decider now. We'll see these riders later. 1-1 in the bronze medal ride. Get ready now to bring these riders to the track. This is Fabian Puerta of Colombia. He rode the Keirin here at London 2012. And he has won some rounds of the Track World Cup previously in Cali and Colombia, in front of a home crowd. He also is a Pan American champion in the Keirin. And he was, of course, as we mentioned before, the silver medalist in the Keirin in Cali and Colombia in the World Championship. So Puerta 1-0 up. Jeffrey Hoogland, the youngster from the Netherlands here, has got to try and win this one to equal it up and take it to a third ride. Last little bit of instruction from his coach. 3 laps of the track to decide whether we see the gold medal going to Colombia or whether we will take this to a decider. So the tactics start to play out as Hoogland tries to hold Fabian Puerta up the track, but Puerta just says, no, you're not doing that, I'm going to move you down. These two riders are not giving an inch, are they? Almost shoulder to shoulder as Hoogland really wants to hold Puerta up the track. He does not want to give him an inch. Hoogland looking to now take the inside line. He has the initiative. He's got the red sprinters line. Fabian Puerta now going to try and go around the outside, but that is a fantastic performance by Hoogland. He makes it 1-1 as well. Well, we've got an enticing finish to these sprints to decide the gold, silver and the bronze medal because we will be going to a ride-off. Well, if you're fans of sprinting, lick your lips now because we are going to see some really thrilling finishes to these rounds of racing. Hoogland intimidating Fabian Puerta there and holding him right up the track. Well, we're just hearing the result is under review here between these two riders. So it could be that Hoogland, because of his tactics there, could be relegated. Let's wait and see what happens. We'll just stay with this until we find out exactly what is going to happen. If Hoogland is relegated, then Fabian Puerta will be the gold medalist. There is not really in sprinting allowed to be any form of contact like that where it is meant. Of course, these riders do come in contact when they are so close to each other. Well, as you can see, the commissars, the judges, there in the centre of the track, waiting to make the decision. This is what happened. In fact, Puerta was the rider who came down the track and he leant on Hoogland. So actually, if he's relegated, then nothing would happen. But they were, look at that, elbow to elbow, just shows how close these riders are. And they're doing 60 kilometers, maybe 65 kilometers an hour at that point. Well, Hoogland was desperate to hold Puerta as high up the track as he could. Well, we're just hearing then that the result stands, so it is 1-1. There was no form of problem there between the riders. So we are 1-1 in the gold medal ride and we are 1-1 in the bronze medal ride as well. So before we bring you the live women's keirin, let's turn our attention back to the men's team pursuit, which happened on the track yesterday. In fact, happened on Friday. Such is the amount of excitement we've had on the track over the last few days. This is the ride-off for the bronze medal. And it's Denmark against Switzerland. Denmark riding with Kasper Pedersen, Lasse Norman Hansen, the Olympic Omnium champion. Rasmus Kvauda, who's won, of course, medals on the road as a time trialist in the World Championships at under 23 level. And Kasper von Volsack is the other rider in the Danish team. The Swiss team riding with Tom Bowley, Stefan Kung, Frank Pasha and Cyril Thierry. This is the ride-off for the bronze medal between these squads. And it is expected here that Denmark would be the stronger team. But in fact, the Swiss team are going ahead of the Danish team. The Danish team have got a great history of riding team pursuits like this, but Switzerland, in the opening stages of this team pursuit, are pegging them back a little bit. Well, this looks like it is a good ride so far, but Switzerland under pressure as they go through the 1,000-metre point, looking a little bit more ragged, but going through ahead of the Danish team, who now are down to 3 riders. The 3 riders powering themselves on towards the 3,500-metre point. 3:31.528, and now they're going ahead of this Swiss squad. So Switzerland, Tom Bowley, Stefan Kung, Frank Pasha and Cyril Thierry rode well in the opening phase of this team pursuit, but now they are starting to really feel the tempo that's been set by the Danish team, who are heading towards the finish line, and the Danish squad are going to take the team pursuit of bronze medal in a time of 4:22.04, an average speed of 59.5 kilometers an hour. Confirmation then that Denmark take the bronze medal ahead of Switzerland. This is the ride for the gold medal, to the delight of the British fans. I just should update you that in the qualification, Australia were about to produce a top performance, and then they had a little bit of a problem with one of the changes, and we're down to 3 riders. And then one of the riders, I think it was Luke Davidson, who punctured, leaving only 2 riders from Australia on the track, which meant that Australia didn't qualify for the ride-offs. But New Zealand here, riding with Peter Burling, Wesley Goff, Cameron Konowski and Myron Simpson, looking very, very good against the British team of Stephen Burke, the Olympic champion, linked here with Mark Christian from the Isle of Man, Owen Doull and Andy Tennant, the new European individual pursuit champion. But the New Zealand squad now sense the opportunity to beat Great Britain and take the gold medal. And New Zealand have got a very strong squad here, and Great Britain with a change team, having sat Ed Clancy, the Olympic champion, out of the final because Ed Clancy in Guadalajara was a little bit sick and not feeling too strong. But Great Britain and New Zealand neck and neck here as they make their way around this track over 4,000 metres, 16 laps of the track. Great Britain now ahead by over 2 seconds. And the might of this team pursuit squad, with Paul Manning there, their coach on the inside of the track, just keeping a good eye on them. All 4 riders intact through 3,000 metres. 2.3 seconds up on the time of New Zealand, being led there by Owen Doull at the front. The Great Britain team now down to 3 riders. Andy Tennant, the tallest rider in that group. New Zealand 2.334 down. So it looks here like the medal is going to go to Great Britain. But New Zealand, with a silver medal, are going to be extremely happy in this team pursuit contest to walk away from the World Cup with the silver medal. 3.357 seconds is the deficit to New Zealand. Great Britain starting to turn the pace up a little bit more. 1 lap to go. The New Zealand team have fought all the way through, but Great Britain can see them in their sights now, and they are really kicking on to try and bring home the victory, with Stephen Burke, the Olympic champion, driving on at the front. That puts the fans on their feet. An average speed of 59.7 kilometers an hour. 4 minutes was the time, which, as you know, is way outside the world record set by Great Britain on this track here in London. The replay then of the Great Britain team making their way around the track. Tremendous slow motion shots there of the teams. So that's our highlights of the competitions over the last few days. There's the podium of Great Britain, New Zealand and Denmark.
Yeah, it's nice to win in front of a home crowd, and hopefully we can improve even more leading into the World Championships. Yeah, I think we've got a bit of work to do. You know, I think, to be honest, the strongest team today were the Australians. They were a bit unlucky, were they, with the second ride with Puncher him. So we've got to work hard over these next few weeks in training camps, and hopefully it'll come good for February at the World Championships.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Very serious words there from Stephen Burke, the Olympic champion. So we've seen all our highlights, so now all we've got to bring you is some enticing racing and the finals of the women's keirin, and of course we've got to decide the men's sprint finals as well. So first of all, we've got here on the list the women's keirin finals, finals 7 to 12, to decide the places. Now, just to mention to you that the final list is going to change, because, as you can see, Jess Varnish of Great Britain has been moved into the final, and because of that clash of riders, Nedenko of Russia has been moved into the 7 to 12 place. There she is, still smiling, but she is not going to get a chance to ride for the gold medal. Katerina Nedenko relegated into the 7th to 12th ride-off here. So the top 6 will be Song Chan-chi, Jess Varnish, Christina Vogel, Wai Chut Lee, and Hai Jin Lee and Shuang Guo. They will fight it out. In this one, Anna Mears of Australia, Jun Hong Lin has got a warning, riding for the Chinese team 361. But the makeup then of this round of the keirin, this is to decide 7th to 12th place. There's Olivia Montauban, has recovered from her crash that she had earlier on, so no broken bones there. Nice to see her back up on the track. She's actually been looking like she's been on very, very good form. Going on behind the riders right now is a slow Mexican wave, which is a tradition of the Lee Valley Velo Park Velodrome. All done to classical music. So the makeup then, there we are, Katerina Nedenko relegated after that crash of Olivia Montauban. And here comes our new Derny bike, electronic as opposed to, or electric as opposed to being powered by any form of diesel or two-stroke petrol or anything like that. The makeup then of the 7th to 12th race. There is Olivia Montauban of France. Anna Mears just in front of her. The rider in the red and black is Jun Hong Ling. In front of her is the Lithuanian rider, Simona Krupakaita. There you can see the speed, 32 kilometers an hour right now, very, very steady. Katarina Nedenko just in front, and then the rider who is right here on the wheel of the Derny bike is Olga Ismailova. She has switched nationalities to Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan cycling actually getting more and more popular all the time. They have the Baku team, one of the continental cycling teams. And they also have now the Tour of Azerbaijan, which is a very popular race. 6 laps of racing remaining. Don't forget, we have lots more action. Still the final of the women's keirin. And we have the men's sprint finals to decide the final places. Who's going to take the gold medal, who's going to take the bronze and the silver. Well, Peter, the Derny driver, became pretty famous during the Olympic Games. He's even got his own Facebook page. Such was his popularity. That concentrated face. Now he doesn't get to pedal the Derny anymore. So the Derny pulls off. 3 laps to go, well, 2.5 laps to go. As Olga Ismailova hits the front, Olivia Montauban doesn't want to have any problems this time. She powers her way through to take the lead. Ismailova on the outside. Now a big move from Simona Krupakaita. Nedenko is in there. Nedenko likes to go through tiny little gaps, doesn't she? Right, who's going to take this one? Nedenko is unable to squeeze through there. Anna Mears makes a move on the outside from Australia, riding for Jacob AIS, but Simona Krupakaita has the advantage. Anna Mears powering her way through. Krupakaita takes it. Anna Mears in second, Montauban in third, so they will finish 7th, 8th and 9th. And that's the makeup of the rest of the top 10 in the women's keirin. Anna Mears really put the pressure on as she made her way around the outside there. She had to go the long way round. Look at the speed of her. You can sense that Anna Mears has been on a big training block, and slowly but surely she's starting to come right to top form, and she'll time it perfectly. Krupakaita very happy with that performance there, beating some very good riders. And there is the separation of the times, 0.051 between Krupakaita and Anna Mears on the run into the finish. Just to remind you then that in Guadalajara in the first round of the World Cup, Anna Mears took the bronze medal. Zhong Chan-chi took the silver. And it was Xuan Guo who took the World Cup lead. Both those riders in the gold and silver are back in this race to go for the gold medal. This is the makeup then of the women's keirin. Christina Vogel, the world champion, there with the little pink cuffs on the gloves, getting herself ready. This is our penultimate gold medal of the competition. 3 days of racing here in the Lee Valley Vela Park in London. And Jess Varnish now has made her way into this ride. Her coach talking to her all the time, trying to get Jess Varnish's head in the right place to try and take this win if she can. Bronze medalist in the keirin in London 2012, Wai Chu Lee in the red kit. There is Hae-Jun Lee of Korea. The World Cup leader, Xuan Guo of China. She's actually riding for Max Success, her pro team. And Christina Vogel, very concentrated. It's interesting here, we were talking about this earlier, that the Derny bike used to have a noise about it. And the riders could hear the Derny bike coming up to them. And then you could see them getting ready to go. But now they are just literally waiting for the gun to go off. So you get that stunned reaction of the riders getting started, which is a little bit different to what happened previously. So, an important moment then in this keirin contest. Who is going to take the gold medal? Xuan Guo took it in Guadalajara. Zhong Chanxi was the rider in silver. Anna Mears was the bronze medalist, but she's not in this ride-off. In the World Championships, previously in Cali in Colombia, Christina Vogel took the gold. Anna Mears took silver, and Becky James of Great Britain took the bronze medal. This time, Jess Varnish is the Great Britain representative in here. It's very hard to choose a winner. Vogel, you feel, has got the form right now to win this keirin, but Xuan Guo is a fierce competitor. She likes to make it difficult for her opponents, and having got the World Cup lead, she will want to maintain it. Varnish has been given an opportunity here by Nedenko being taken out of this final. Can she capitalise on that opportunity and take the gold medal, which would give us some great points towards World Championship selection? Christina Vogel. It's funny, when you see her off the bike, she's always smiling, very exuberant. Here, though, you put her race face on and she totally changes. Varnish hanging back a little bit. And the Derny bike is about to pull off, which it does. And we get the immediate reaction now for the rider in red, Zhong Chanxi. And Varnish isn't going to make the mistake she made last time by letting riders in front of her. She looks around. And now they're waiting for the arrival of Christina Vogel. Looks like Vogel's going to go. Here we go now. And it's right neck and neck between these riders. Varnish going shoulder to shoulder with Wai-Chu Lee. Wai-Chu Lee gets her out of the way. It is going to be a drag race all the way to the line between Christina Vogel and Wai-Chu Lee. Christina Vogel now has the advantage, but look at Xuan Guo going round the outside. Oh, it was very close there. And Xuan Guo is going to win that one. What a fantastic display of power by the rider from China. That was a thrilling sprint. You had to have absolutely nerves of steel to stay in that sprint. She finally squeezed through the gap. Christina Vogel looked to have that one won, but Xuan Guo had fought her way through the gap. Jess Varnish, let's look at the replay here. Wai-Chu Lee and Christina Vogel are shoulder to shoulder, and Xuan Guo has still got a lot to do here. Vogel hits the front, that gives Xuan Guo the opportunity. Look at Vogel almost touching the wheel of Wai-Chu Lee. That was so close, millimeters between the wheels, and then Xuan Guo went for the finish line. She takes it, and in fact Vogel may well have been beaten into second place. No, let's just take a look here. Very, very close. Lee of Korea will take the bronze medal. That was a thrilling sprint, I'm sure you'll agree. Xuan Guo then confirmed as the winner of the gold medal. Christina Vogel takes the silver. Hae-Jin Lee of Korea takes the bronze medal. Wai-Chu Lee almost came down there. That was really close between her wheel and the wheel of the rider in front of her. And Jess Varnish in 5th place there for Great Britain. Well, we promised you that we'd bring you the men's sprint deciders. This is the final contest of this track cycling World Cup in London, the 2nd round. We were in Guadalajara first. The next round will be in Cali in Colombia. Thank you to all of you who've joined me for this coverage. I hope you've enjoyed seeing some of the live coverage and also some of the key highlights of the last 3 days of competition. Thanks to all of you who've tweeted and joined us on any forms of social media over the last few hours with us here as we brought you the coverage. We will, of course, be looking to bring you coverage of the round in Cali and Colombia. And don't forget, if you are looking to go to the World Championships, if you live somewhere in touching distance of seeing the World Championships, they are in France in February, and all the details on uci.ch. That's where you need to go to get information if you think, do you know what, I'd like to go and see track racing up close and personal like this and see what happens. Right, this is the ride-off for the bronze medal between Archibald of New Zealand and Canelon of Venezuela. Archibald, of course, not wearing the colours of New Zealand. He's riding for HPS, which is his pro team. Oh, he sneaks in there and decides to go to the front, the 28-year-old from New Zealand. Canelon, who had that really interesting first ride against Archibald, but he got it right last time. Who is going to take the bronze medal then, as they put on the pace a little bit? Archibald looking around all the time to see where Canelon is. The bell is rung. Canelon looking to get in the slipstream. He now puts on the pressure a little bit more. Archibald all over the place as he now looks to extend his advantage here, but it is going to be Canelon. He's going to go shoulder to shoulder. It's going to be almost a photograph, but Canelon takes it. He sits up. He's absolutely ecstatic with that. He's the bronze medalist, sitting up, really, really happy. He was so unhappy after the first ride. Archibald just didn't have the gas to go with the pace of this rider from Venezuela. Here it is, they go elbow to elbow around that top corner. And it is Canelon who takes the victory. He just sat up. He just couldn't believe it. An outpouring of emotion there for Canelon. He really built up to that one, didn't he? Another thrilling contest, and we've now got one race left. And so we turn our attention to the final race. This is the decider for the gold medal in the men's sprint. Fabian Puerta of Colombia. Well, Colombia have done well so far, haven't they, with Gaviria taking the men's Omnium contest. And the Colombian fans are in the crowd. There they are with the flags. Whenever there is bike racing in London, there are lots of Colombian fans out. Hoogland just composing himself there. All these riders have their final ritual before they get underway. The final race then of this Track Cycling World Cup here in London, as we wait to find out who takes the gold medal. I don't think this one's going to take too long, because Puerta seems keen to get on with it. He doesn't want to have any playing around with tactics, any locking together. They are literally just going to go for it full bore and find out who takes the gold medal. No standstills, no messing around. This is going to be a straight, flat-out sprint. And Fabian Puerta is now going up the banking. Hoogland goes very, very high. Hoogland's going to try and dive inside Puerta, but he doesn't manage to do it. 1 lap to go. It is the decider for the gold medal. Hoogland going around the outside the long way. Puerta's trying to hold him off. Who's going to take this one? It's going to be a photograph, but looks like Hoogland took it. Jeffrey Hoogland of the Netherlands wins. He beats Fabian Puerta, the youngster from the Netherlands. That was a display of pure power. What a thrilling finish to the men's sprint. He wins the World Cup, the first time he's done that. And his coach is smiling away. He looks pretty calm about it. But Jeffrey Hoogland wins the men's sprint. Well, Fabian Puerta looked like he just had it in his mind. We are not going to mess around. We are going to go out. We are just going to race this one. Maybe that tactic wasn't quite right for him today. Here is the replay. Look, Puerta was leading out. He had the initiative. Hoogland actually at that point was holding back a little bit. He almost was just holding. Now he drives on as they come out of the turn, just letting the G-forces help that bike round that bend, and now he goes for it, and he has the power, he has the speed, and he takes the victory by what? Nearly a wheel length there. Well, he's going to enjoy this one for a long time. He's going to remember London. And remember this young rider. Is he going to be a competitor in the World Championships in France in a couple of months' time? That's what he looks like without the visor on. As we look at these two riders, thank you very much to all of you who have joined me for highlights of the racing and for the live coverage here in London. It's been a magnificent 3 days of racing. Thank you to all of you for joining me. Join me again for a Track World Cup or a World Championship. From me in London, bye for now.